Hey, you're back. I hope it's because of me and not because of the promise to put something in my ass. But even if you are here for that, just stick around because I will be delivering on that promise in just a few minutes. But first, let's explain briefly the whys and the whats, because if not, it's not really worth it. That's more important. Have you ever felt this wave of anxiety come over you for absolutely no reason at all? You know what I'm talking about? This accelerated heartbeats, the shortness of breath, this tension, this anger that you almost want to explode, like sweat in places you never even realized that you had until that moment of desperation. ... I'm sure you know the symptoms. When you stop to think about the why, there's no immediate trigger that comes to mind. No valid reason for you to feel this intensely out of control. And for some of us, we seem like we're fine on the outside, but on the inside, like deep on the inside, it's just this chaotic mess that no one sees. And we try to pretend it's not happening, but it's definitely happening. And not only that, it's actually getting way worse. In my brain, I classify it in two ways. Either it's valid or it's invalid. And again, if you do have valid anxiety, then there's steps that you need to be taking in order to get that under control and to make it better. But we'll get there. But for now, let's just focus on the unidentified anxiety, because that still has the same crippling and paralyzing effects as valid anxiety on your behavior and in your actions. Let's see if we can try to just gain control over it and ultimately reduce it, even if it's just a little. Because, spoiler alert, it never completely goes away, and that's a good thing. It helps you stay away from danger and from the circle of stupidity if you learn how to use it and how to train it properly. My brain kind of knew this, but it wasn't until a mentor that I had a long time ago put it to me in this way that I understood it. Like my brain could actually understand the meaning of it. So I'm gonna try my best to do the same for you guys. Let me ask you a simple question. Do you consider yourself to be a reasonable person? I'm assuming everybody said yes. If it took you, insert the amount of years you've been alive, if it took you 42 years, in my case, to learn a pattern of behavior, why do you think you can change it in a month, in a year, in an hour, in a second, in a minute? It's absolutely unreasonable for you to think that you can do that, no matter how smart, how disciplined, how intelligent you are. It's just unbelievably impossible. Stop expecting something impossible for yourself. Now, where this invalid anxiety becomes a problem is when your nervous system takes over and it treats everything that happens in your life exactly in that same state of emergency, in crisis mode, panic. Because that's when we become reactive, defensive, impulsive. We're just so desperate to get rid of that uncomfortable feeling no matter what. And that's when we impulsively make all these bad decisions that ultimately make our anxiety worse, or we can even create an anxiety loop or lifelong pattern that becomes really hard to break later on. And if you're there right now, it's okay. I've been there too. Here's what I did. I started thinking, what do I do now? Because I believe some of these things are actually valuable information, but how do I actually apply it in my life so that I can actually create something for myself that I do consistently that would cause me less pain than this anxiety that I'm feeling all the time? And being the accountant that I am, I decided to think of the one thing about my job that has a lot of value, but that almost every accountant hates doing, and that was taxes. Taxes or tariffs, call it whatever the fuck you want. Shout out to you, my accountants represent. So I taxed my ass. Every time I had some kind of invalid anxiety, I'd have to put a penny in my ass. Not yet, we're almost there. Again, I hear it, but like, how will I even know if it's valid or not? And like, aren't all feelings valid? Like, this is not helpful, this is some bullshit. Looks like they might need one of these. Or two. Probably two. Maybe three. I was getting to that. If your negativity allows me to get there, it allows me to continue. Is that cool? Take the chill pill. And just because of that, let me put another disclaimer here in saying that triggers and anxiety are two very different things, and you could have triggers for invalid, or in my opinion, valid anxiety too. Here's how I try to figure out if my anxiety is valid or invalid. I use 4 different types of criteria. First thing I do is I identify and label the feeling or the emotion. A lot of people sometimes confuse what the actual emotion is. It kind of gets masked by something that you've created for yourself just to be functional. Just to give you a quick example, you might get insulted by or a comment might hurt your feelings. But instead of showing sadness and crying like a little bitch, we've taught ourselves to get angry at it and to defend ourselves. Sadness can sometimes, and a lot of times, manifest as anger. But the true underlying feeling is sadness or hurt or something else. The second thing I do is I try to pinpoint the exact physical location that I was at when this feeling started to occur. The reason why I do this is because sometimes that can give you some context clues as to the real reason and help you pinpoint the actual real reason or the actual trigger that you're having. The third thing that I do is I identify all 5 of the senses that I was experiencing when I was having that negative feeling or that anxiety. To give you an example, you could be eating at a restaurant, celebrating something happy and exciting with your friends, your family, you feel safe, you feel happy, you're eating amazing food. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, you just get this wave of anxiety and you can't explain why. And then all day, especially when you're driving, you just feel it even more intensely and you get home and you can't shake it and you can't figure out what the fuck. If you had tried to do this analysis for yourself and you thought about what you were seeing, what you were smelling, what you were hearing, then maybe you would have been able to zoom in on the fact that you heard a siren or you heard a car crash. And even though it was really far away, you had been in a really bad accident a long time ago and that just triggered a response in your body. It's almost like a muscle memory and your body just gets transported into that moment, that really bad moment that you experienced and you lived even if it's a long time ago. And it just makes you feel like your body feels like it's there again, even when you're not. And that's why it's important to do that, even though it takes some time. Last thing we kind of already covered, which is naming the actual trigger. In the example that I just gave them, being in a bad car crash can trigger that for you. And if you hear it, or if you see one, and sometimes even the smell of burnt oil can trigger this memory. And in your body, that's what you feel, even though cognitively, mentally, you understand that you're not in any type of immediate danger, but your body still feels like you are in that moment. And that's when you have to start doing things to help your body understand that that's not happening now. And you don't have to feel that way now. That's the key cheat code for you to figure out if it's valid or invalid anxiety. Think about, am I truly in danger in this specific moment that I'm feeling this overwhelming sensation of I'm about to die? Because if you're feeling all those things, again, for a valid reason, death of a loved one, chronic illness, other types of bad news, that's understandable. That's happening. You have to deal with that. You have to do something actively more than just figure out how to distract your mind so that your body can regulate itself. But if it's an invalid reason, you're not in actual immediate danger. It could be something that maybe happened in the past, or maybe it's something that you are thinking about may happen in the future. You're not in immediate danger in that moment. So why are you stressing out so much about it? Why are you letting it control your emotions, your day, your actions, your decisions? It's just dumb. Yo, one more thing. No, absolutely not. I already know what you're gonna say, so just over there. By invalid, I don't mean that you shouldn't feel it. What I'm saying is that the intensity of what you're feeling does not match what's actually happening in the moment. And that's what you have to actively try to remind yourself so that you can start beginning to take control over yourself. And here's the good news. You can learn to regulate and learn how to train yourself so that those fears and that anxiety doesn't take over you, so that what you're actually dreading might happen doesn't. Easier said than done, I know. Sometimes the comfort of knowing who you are and what you can expect at rock bottom is easier than you actually making changes and trying something different and being in something unexpected or something that you're not familiar with how you respond to. And that's the real challenge. But the brutal honesty is that it's never, ever gonna be a painless process, ever. No matter how strong, how emotionally mature, intelligent you think you are, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with how much you actively challenge yourself to consistently do something about it. And that's why I had to tax my ass, because it's the only way that I would learn. Almost there, almost. Just one more thing. one more important thing that I want you guys to have in mind before we do this thing. Punishing myself by not only taxing myself for my anxiety, but also having to create a tax audit for myself where I had to explain the 4 criteria and had to really do a deep dive, and that took some time. And trust me when I say I really didn't want to do any of that. And I really had to actively put in effort to make sure that I did it. But it did force me to like stop and think first, instead of just reacting like I had accustomed myself to do before, or running away. And like I always want to do, it's my default setting. Things get hard, you run away. Just disappear. Finding a way to trick yourself like this and finding something that is less painful than the anxiety that you're experiencing can help rewire your brain. It could lead to a better decision-making process so that it becomes easier and easier and faster for you to cycle through it. And note, I said less, not eliminate. We've talked about this. Let's keep it real. But I came to find the more that I learned about myself and how I react and what I can negotiate with myself to regulate it, the more I found almost what felt like the mental audio owner's manual for myself, where I can find the volume and tune it down so that loud negative voices aren't so loud anymore, and I can pay attention to the more cognitive side of my brain, like the smarter version of myself. And her advice actually isn't that bad. Better than the anxious version of myself, for sure. I did end up tweaking a little bit of this EQ experiment. One of the ways that I did that was by adjusting my tax rate by how much I actually had to put in my ass. Almost. We were so close. Instead of pennies, I upgraded to nickels, then dimes, and quarters, dollars, fives. Making it rain, man. People are gonna think you're going to a strip club when you make change in the bank, because we have so many singles. Make it rain. I also found that I had to give my audit a deadline because I am a procrastinator and I would just keep postponing. And because the audit was so much work for me, like I really loathed doing it, I had to add an additional reward layer for myself, not just the relief of feeling less anxiety. I had to make it a little bit more interesting for myself. So I decided to give myself a minimum payout. So I had to have a specific amount inside my ass before I was able to take it out and then use it to celebrate how much less anxiety I had. And that led me to the fourth thing, which was to tweak how frequently I made these reviews. So I'd have these anxiety tax audits on a weekly basis, and then I would review, take all the pennies out my ass and try to see visually how much anxiety I had that week. And then I tried to challenge myself to have less and less and less of it. And you'd think that I'd be mad that I'd have less money in my ass to be able to reward myself for learning to control myself and regulate my emotions better that week. But the emotional intelligence skills that I learned were way more valuable than anything I could have bought myself with a few pennies. Self-control, discipline, resilience, and less anxiety, duh. Those were my rewards, the real ones. Way better than custard. Not really. Eventually that led to better impulse control, and so I was able to control my finances better. Sometimes I didn't even have to wait till the end of the week to reward myself. I had cash flow, cash on hand to reward myself in that moment. And what a feeling that was. The very first time in a long time that I was able to check my bank account and realize that I could actually afford this thing that I wanted without bad consequences, without worrying if I was going to be short on a bill, I was going to have to pay a bill late and then have to pay the late fees, having to go pawn my stuff that I love. Or worse, I feel like I'm losing my dignity by having to go ask for help and ask somebody to loan me some money. Was it easy at first? Hell no. Hell no. But I'm coming to find that learning to control your emotions, your impulses, and your reactions doesn't always have to lead to something more complicated. And regulating myself emotionally doesn't always have to cost me my dignity or my peace of mind or my financial security. A little bit of punishment, but it definitely got me there with some tough love. It really helped me reduce and control my anxiety. Learning to recognize your own invalid anxiety patterns and designing your own way to tax yourself for it can help you avoid a whole mess of mistakes in the future, which will ultimately reduce your anxiety over time if you're consistent. Gotta be consistent wherever you are. The camera can never find where you are. I would go over my metrics in more detail, but I could feel the energy from the camera, from in there, of all of you wanting me to do that thing. Fine, you win, so let's do that thing. Un momento, little camera shy, just give me a second. Okay, I'm ready. And now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present to you my ass. Here we go. Nah. What were you expecting, Curves? For shame, James. For shame. What were you expecting? His name is Carlitos. That's going to be his name for now, but he's going to need a full Latin name. So I'm going to need your help with that. Full Latin name, by the way, means at least minimum 4. Distracted. So cute. So yeah, I'd love to see your suggestions. Just drop them in the comments down below. Hell, I think we should even make this a competition. What do you guys think? I don't really care what you guys think. This is happening. Come on. He could be like our little EQ school mascot. He's even like got his little rebellious hair. Look at that. Got his gangster chains, man. This ass is ready. It's a gangsta ass. So yeah, let's do this. Let's name Carlitos. I'll make it interesting. In the next episode, I'll select the winner or winners. I need 1 middle name and 2 last names. Don't have to be Latino, but he's got to have at least 4 names. He's got to have some kind of flow and ring to it though too. Get creative. I know you got this. Have fun. Can't wait to see what Carlitos' names is going to be in the next episode. Speaking of next episodes, if all this seems still like it's too much for you, don't worry. I still got you. No child gets left behind. Sorry. Luckily, the best part of school for most of us anyways was recess. And that's what we're gonna do next week. We're gonna take a breather and think as far back as we can to the absolute best day you've ever had in your life. And we're gonna try to recreate that. That's right, you heard me. 1 day, 0 adult responsibilities. Your only responsibility is to make sure that you have fun, that you recharge your batteries enough so that we can get into the next lessons. Because trust me when I say we're gonna go deep. Shit's about to get real if you stick around. No adulting will be allowed, like 0 adulting, 0, nada, zip, zilch. Wrong one, that was my bad. Can't wait to see what y'all's favorite day turns out to be, and I can't wait to share with you what my favorite day was. Until then, be kind to others, be kind especially to yourself, because kindness matters now more than ever. Be kind, damn it, be kind. But even after all this, you're still feeling crazy impulsive and you feel like you have to do something right now so that you can get some type of relief, just do this one small thing for me. I want you to take a deep breath and I want you to scream it as loud as you can. My anxiety will not get my ass today. Not this ass and not this ass either. I got this, damn it. Face. See, now you can't say that I didn't keep my promises. I showed you my ass. Just didn't show you. Blech. Cut. Yes, we're in tax season, y'all. Get your taxes done. I hate my life.